everyone, it's Jasmita. Today I wanted to show you how to create a natural yet glamorous, really beautiful, neutral looking makeup look. First thing I'm going to put on is my moisturizer and also on the neck. And I'm going to be doing sunscreen. I'm just going to do 2 finger lengths worth of sunscreen. This sunscreen works really well underneath makeup, so I really like using it. It's always a good idea to prepare your skin for makeup, so using moisturizer, sunscreen. You can use primer if you've got a long day ahead of you or something like that. The reason we prep our skin for makeup and use a lot of moisture is just because you don't want to put makeup on dry skin. If you do, your makeup will not last long and you'll find yourself using a lot more makeup than you would usually because it's not going to go on smoothly, and it will also look really thick on your face. Foundation, just putting some on a palette, spread it out like that. Apply a thin, even layer on your face wherever you'd like to start. I need the most coverage on my cheeks, and that's where I like to put most of my foundation, and then on my nose as well. And I'll put it a little bit underneath my eyes, all the way to the side. When you put your foundation in thin layers like this, you barely need to work your sponge or brush into whatever it is you're doing. You just tap and it's pretty much blended. I'm using a wet latex sponge and just tapping it to blend. And then I'm gonna put a little bit more on wherever I need a little bit more coverage. And for this, I'm not gonna use my sponge. I'm just gonna blend this out with my finger. That's just gonna give you the maximum coverage. Next, I'm using bronzer. I like to place a continuous line like this along the perimeter of my face, a little bit on the cheekbone, and then a little bit down the nose. The bronzer on your nose, you don't have to be too careful. You can put it on top and on a little bit on the sides. I like to do concealer after my bronzer. Plus, I'm not like purposefully slimming down my nose or anything. The purpose of bronzer is to just make your skin tone look a little bit more tan and warmer. So it doesn't really matter if I put it on top. I don't like to place my bronzer like down here. Anyway, when I blend it, it'll get in that area. So I like to place everything a little bit higher than I am gonna blend it to be. For concealer, I like to put it in the inner corner, outer corner, down my nose, horizontally on between my brows, and then drag it up a little bit above my lips and my chin. This I mostly use as concealing, like dark circles. All this stuff down the center of my face, even here, it's more so just to brighten the face. Using the flat end, I don't like to move this around too much, just tap it in place and move it very slightly so that this, this specific area looks brighter and this specific area looks brighter. With the nose, don't move it around at all. I'm just gonna blend up and down so that only the bridge and the highest point is highlighted like that, so it's not on the sides, see? And this I like to move a little bit more up so that the center of my forehead just appears a little bit brighter. The reason I do this is just because in photography, even in person, your makeup is going to look flat if you've put foundation on your entire face, because your entire face is like one color, right? And in photography especially, this is important just because when you brighten up your face looks more 3D. Do you see this line right here? Just because that's how my sponge is shaped, and you can see the concealer end like that. I don't like to blend it all the way up there because it disrupts the bronzer that I put down, so I will just turn it back to the side I used for my foundation and just blend out the edge until it just sort of doesn't have that line anymore, so it just looks a little bit more blended out. Same thing with cream blush. I'm going to place this, sorry, it's like collected here, so I'm just trying to put that on first. Going to put this very close to my eye so that when it's, it's easier for you to move your hand down when you blend, right? So when you're moving it down and you're putting it where you want your blush to be, so here, I'm assuming, at least for my face shape, I like to have my blush here. So if I put it here, then blended it down, it would end up here. So I'm just trying to avoid that by putting it up as high as I can, so that when I blend it down with my brush, it'll be down here. And I also personally really like when my blush is right under my eye here. I don't like seeing a separation of concealer here and then the blush. I just think it looks a little weird, a little disconnected. So I like to make sure they're connected. Just a little bit on my nose. Then I'm just using like a flat brush, it's very dense. First, I just like to tap the blush in, and I like to bring it up to my temple as well, just a little, and making sure that it's like under my eye, because I really like that look. I think it looks a little bit more natural when it's under your eye rather than having a separation there. And then when I bring it down, you can see how it looks when it's spread out. This is where I want my blush to be. So if I had placed it down here, it would be too low. I like to focus on the most saturation out here, and then here, the least amount. The leftover, I'm just gonna add a little bit on my chin. It's barely noticeable. Last thing I'm gonna do before I powder is eye primer. Never ever skip eye primer. So applying a little tiny bit on my lower lash line. Make sure you get your inner corner, lower lash line, outer V, brow bone, crease, inner crease, every part of your eye, everywhere around your eye. Make sure you get everything. I'm using my loose powder that has talc in it. It's by Wet n Wild. The way that I like to powder my face is in a very specific order. Put your puff on, okay, and get your powder. Here's what it looks like. Now tap off a little bit of that so that it looks even. Now it looks like this. It looks a little bit more even than before. You want to avoid over powdering your face because your face will actually look like super cakey and powdery. With your pinky, blend out the creases on your eye and powder immediately. You don't want to blend out the creases, pick up the powder, even it out, and then powder. Because by the time you do that, by the time you do all of that, you're looking up and down and you're probably going to make new creases. So doing it in this order ensures that you don't set the creases with powder. So picking up the powder, it's uneven and there's a lot on. I'm gonna tap off some of that just in the container that the powder comes in, so it's even. Now going to blend out the creases that have appeared in the eye primer and the concealer, and powder immediately. Pick up the powder, tap off the excess, blend out the creases, and powder. Just for the eye area where I'm trying to not set the creases, I like to do it like that. And then for the rest of my face, I will just use the powder puff to apply the powder. Whatever position you're looking into the mirror when you blend out the creases with your pinky, don't move your eye or blink. Put the powder on exactly as you look into the mirror in whatever position you're in. And that will prevent you from looking down and up and, you know, creating more creases. Now for the rest of my face, I'm still gonna use my puff. I'm just gonna pick up the powder, uneven, and just try to even it out as much as I can. It doesn't have to be too perfect because I'm gonna use a brush later. And just powder the face. So just try not to use a lot of powder. It will have like a white cast on your face. Even though I tried to even out my powder puff as much as I could, you can still see, you know, lingering bits of powder here and there. So I'm going to blend that away with a brush. I like to use a big fluffy brush for this. And even on this brush, I'm going to pick up a little bit of the loose powder, just a tiny amount, but try to get it even and use that to get rid of the excess powder rather than going in with a clean brush and brushing like harshly and getting rid of powder. You might disrupt your base makeup. Ideally that shouldn't happen, but you never know, so just try to be careful. Use a very light hand when you're doing this. I'm gonna fill in my brows with a pen, but before I do that, I'm going to brush up my brows with a spoolie so that I know how I want them to lay when I put my brow gel on, and so that I can fill in my eyebrows to suit this shape. And see these two prongs? I like to hold them so the prongs are facing side to side rather than front and back. So I hold them like this and I draw it on like that, so the two prongs are essentially just drawing one line. And then I'm just going to darken a couple of different areas on my brows. I like to start in the middle just because sometimes the brow pen is super pigmented, and if I start up here, you know, that's the lightest part of your brows. You don't want to have too much color on there. I like to hold it up and down. The prongs are facing up and down so that it still is drawing one line when I go like this. So that's about the darkness level I want. It's not much of a difference now that I'm really looking at it on camera, but it's just a little bit darker than this side. When I put my brow gel on, I don't like to comb them out like perfectly. I like to just make them look a little bit messy, but not like crazy messy or anything. Just not trying to make them look super perfect. So some of the hairs are going up like that, and here I've got a little bit of hairs that go up this way too. So I'm just gonna brush them up to not look overly perfect. Today I'm using the e.l.f. Keep It Ethereal palette. This is a really nice palette using this pink color. Tap off the excess. I'm using the pink color all over my lid and then into my crease as well. Really getting it, you know, a little higher than the crease, almost to the brow bone. Also applying this on the outer V. This is essentially going to be your guideline, so you're not going to go past. When you apply your next eyeshadow, or whatever eyeshadows, however many you're going to use, you're not going to go past this guide, and you're not going to go higher than this, and you're not going to go beyond this area. So when you create your guideline, it's easier for you to see, for you to map out your eyeshadow look, especially when you're a beginner. You have to decide where you want that guideline to be. Whatever looks most natural on your face, on your eyes, for your proportions is where you're going to choose your guideline to be. There's going to be a little bit of trial and error for you to figure out where your guideline should end. But typically on a diagonal line leading up from your eye, up to almost your brow bone and your crease and your lid, that's typically where the guideline should be. And to create your guideline, you're gonna wanna use a matte eyeshadow that is kind of close to your skin color. And I'm also using this on my lower lash line. It serves as a guideline down here as well. Whatever's left on my brush, I'm just gonna put it in the inner corner. The reason I put these eyeshadows on my inner corner is, yes, later on I'm gonna be going in with a highlighter there, but sometimes, for example, this highlighter that I have, the Fenty How Many Carats one, if I just put that on top, it's got a transparent base and just white silver glitter. So if you want like a color there, you have to put something before the highlighter. If you choose to not create your guideline and just sort of do whatever, your eye look may end up more dramatic than you wanted. And if you've created a guideline but you choose to go past it, your eye look will look super dramatic, kind of like editorial, the way they would have on runways. It's not gonna look traditionally, like conventionally wearable, and it might end up looking a little costumey, like it's Halloween or you're cosplaying something. So if you want a realistic makeup look, not necessarily natural or not necessarily glam, but if you want a makeup look that is conventionally good looking, whether natural or glam, but suits your proportions, you have to make a guideline. That's gonna be super helpful for you. Same thing on this side. The reason I'm applying this guideline shadow almost near my brow bone is so that when I put something in my brow bone, a highlighter, it will have a color that it sort of fades into. You just want to make it look like it's fading into that color, but really you just, you know, you just put it there. But having that continuation will also help your eye makeup look a little bit more professional. And then I'm going to take these two brown shades, these two matte browns, on a skinnier, flatter blending brush. It's like that. Tap off the excess. And then I'm going to place this on my outer lid and my inner lid. If you're not seeing a lot of pigment, you can use your finger. With matte eyeshadows, I do recommend using a brush, because sometimes when you have like moisture on your fingers, you can see where you first put that eyeshadow down, and I just don't like that look. So what you can do for more pigment is tap into a lot more of the eyeshadow and tap off the excess. And instead of like swiping it on, just tap it on for now. Your main goal for now should be get the color on there first. We can worry about blending it later. Now you can see the outer and inner lid both has that brown shade, and I'm gonna take more of those same two colors and look, tilt my head back and look into my mirror so that it's easier for me to blend the crease. So I'm gonna join this outer brown and inner brown through the crease, but leaving the center of my lid still pink. You see above the crease now, that pink is still there. And so it looks like this brown is fading up into that pink. Just blending it into the crease and putting a little bit more color here. And I'm using the same two brown shades on my lower outer lash line. You can see the gradation from pink to brown and on the lids as well. Just adding a little bit more of that pink back to the center of my lid. But right now, I'm gonna move to powder products on my face. So that's pretty much it for the eyes. If you wanna leave them matte, they're really, really beautiful, really easy to do. It just looks like a very natural kind of contour on your eyes. Suits everyone, any occasion, anywhere you wanna go, any outfit. I think that this is gonna look amazing. I'm going to apply a little bit of my bronzer. I realized that I had done a lot of like colorful looks and kind of glamorous looks. Well, not that this isn't glamorous. It will be when I'm completely done with the eyes. I've done a lot of like colorful looks on my channel so far. I haven't really done anything neutral that's meant to look natural, you know? Applying it all the way around the perimeter, just where we applied the cream bronzer earlier. I'm using a very light hand with this because it's a little too pigmented for my taste, honestly. It's on the sides of my nose, finally on my cheekbone. So you can see there's a little bit more warmth and dimension to the face, almost like I have a tan, or that I've actually made my face look a little bit more three-dimensional. Now I'm applying my L'Oreal blush and just focusing the pigment mostly on the original areas that I applied my cream blush. You can use your powder brush to remove some of the pigment if you feel like you've put a little too much on. This blush is also a little bit more pigmented than I would like it to be, but that just makes it a little harder to control. That's a little bit better. I like to start up here, focusing most of the blush on the outer parts of my face rather than right here. Getting it right under my eye as well. And then on my temple, a little tiny bit on my nose, and a little bit on my chin. I'm gonna use my Flexitarian highlighter just with my finger on my nose. This is a very bright, blinding highlighter, which I love. Get the side of your nose. Do you see that? Do you see how good that looks? Don't forget that. And I like to start at the high point of my cheek and then blend so that most of the pigment is up here. Getting the sides of my temple as well, forehead. And I'm just connecting that to my nose highlighter and a little bit on the inner parts of my eyebrow. You see that high point right here? That's what I'm really trying to highlight when I go above my eyebrow here as well. Brow bone, I'm just using a really tiny bit just on the tip of my finger so that it is just up there and not like all the way down here like a stripe. On the center of my lid where that pink shade mostly is, and then my inner corner, also connecting that inner corner highlight on this little lower inner lash line there. If I'm putting a shimmer in the center of my lid, I like to concentrate the color, most of it in the center here, and then as it goes outward from there, it should look a little bit faded out and blended into the shadows that are next to it. You know, I like to layer my highlights, so I'm using the Precious Petals highlight from Wet n Wild everywhere that I put Flexitarian. This is such a beautiful highlighter. It's got like a pinky champagne gold kind of color, and it's very like glowing rather than sparkly. For my brow bone, I always like to use my finger, either my ring finger or pinky finger, just because they're the only fingers that are small enough to only get the eyeshadow up here. Inner corner. I like to squint my eye like this and just go like that so that it's blended in here and on the upper like inner corner lid area. And then I'm putting it on top of the center of my lid as well. Now you can see it doesn't look so sparkly, it just kind of looks like there's a glow on my lid. So if you like to add shimmer to your matte eyeshadow looks, you can stop here for a more natural look, or you can apply like a glitter highlight, liquid glitter eyeliner using a glitter highlighter. I don't think I can live without glitter, like just being honest with you. I'm gonna apply the glitter highlighter everywhere that I put my other highlighters. I love layering my highlighters like this. Just creates the best effect so that it doesn't, it also doesn't feel like you're using too much of every product. You have, you know, highlight already on, so you kind of have an idea of how much glitter to put on, rather than if you just put the glitter on, you might have to use more. But with this, you have a shine, a glow, and a glitter, so it's got a very multi-dimensional look. Just like we create dimension on our face using bronzer, contour, blush, concealer, we need to create dimension with pretty much everything we do. So that's why I like layering my highlights. Yeah, I couldn't live without that. Smaller areas like the Cupid's bow and eyes, I like to use my fingers, as I said. Have the most control over these places. You can see how beautiful that looks now that the highlight is very like layered looking. Using now my brown crayon like twist up eyeliner, upper tight line, lower tight line, and the inner corner, so a 360 essentially. This look is very like mauve and brown, so I decided to use a brown eyeliner in the middle, in the inner rims, rather than black. I just think it has such a smoky and almost like a diffused look, whereas if I put black up here, it would look a little bit more harsh than brown. And I just really love using brown on the inner rims. And what I'm gonna do here at the inner corner is just twist it up a little bit more so that like about that much of it is out. I'm just going to go in like that and draw my line like this. When I come up close, you can see a barely noticeable extension that I've made in my inner corner. It's more so apparent in person. When I move back like this, in person you can tell, it looks like my eye ends in a point. So instead of extending the eyeliner and drawing a very long line here, I like to create the extension and make it very tiny. Tiny, just there enough so it just looks like my eye ends in a point, rather than having my eye look like it's got a line coming out from the inner part of my eye here. I've tried doing that before. I just don't like the way it looks on me. It just proportionally makes my eyes look gigantic, like bug-eyed almost. Not a fan of that look. I recently bought the Clio eyeliner, Sharp So Simple. I only have the Clio liner in black so far. I am recommending this to you because this is a waterproof pencil twist up liner. This is the eyeliner that I just used. Look at how thin the black one is and look at how thick the brown one is. I do prefer this. This has a much better staying power in your inner rims as well, because you know sometimes your eyes water and they just sort of fade away throughout the day. This has a really good staying power. This is not waterproof, and I would recommend you use a waterproof liner in here, but I would overall recommend this one just because the tip is so much finer that it's easier for you to control. I got the Sephora collection brush tip liquid liner, waterproof. This is brown, number 2 brown, and I also got the same thing in number 1 black. I really like these. I just got them recently just because I was so tired of using my felt tip liners. They would dry out and have like fuzzies at the end, and they were very, very hard to deal with, honestly. I recommend a brush tip. You can hear that? That's a good sign. They've got a ball in here, like a little metal ball in here that actually controls like the flow of the ink in here. I'm gonna take the brown shade and line this very thinly on my upper lash line. And I'm also going to very gently smudge this with my finger. Oh wow, it won't smudge because it's waterproof. It just sets right in place. Going to create a tiny wing with this. Tiny wing. I think if you're used to felt tip eyeliners, a brush tip does take a little getting used to, just because you don't have to press as hard, you know? I'm just going to take a very dark brown eyeshadow. I'm using Cyprus Umber, and I'm just going to draw that on with like an angled liner brush. I'm just going to gently smudge that. Notice I'm not using Fix Plus with this or anything, because again, it's not so much about like, oh, can I create the cleanest, crispest line? No, I'm just gonna put the color on and then smudge it with my finger. You can see a more shadowy look on my upper lash line. I like wearing a smudged eyeshadow just because it makes your lashes look super thick. Sometimes I like to do a brown eyeshadow first, smudge that out on the upper lash line, and then I will put a black liquid liner right on the base of my lashes, really thin, and even smudge that out, and that black to brown gradient, it's so beautiful, and it makes your lashes look so thick and so voluminous. And additionally, when you have black upper tight line or brown upper tight line, it enhances that effect even more. Just adding a couple freckles, a couple on my nose, and blend it with my finger to create the false duplicate freckles. I really like doing this, especially when my makeup is more neutral and natural, more so than when it's extreme full glam and colorful. Just because with natural makeup, it looks a little bit more realistic to have these freckles in the first place. Also, good to contour your nose with freckles if you're into nose contouring. I never contour my nose. I never contour in general. The reason I would never contour my nose is because I already have a very thin nose bridge to begin with. So I just don't really see the purpose of contouring. I just prefer to use bronzer. I'm gonna be using brown mascara to match my eyeliner and eyeshadow. Definitely has a softer look than black, but again, more noticeable in person. Brush your inner lashes inwards, center lashes upwards, outer lashes outwards, so that your eyes look more three-dimensional. And on the lower lashes as well, I only like to apply it at the root of the lashes, not the whole lash. Same thing on the lower lashes too. Try not to brush them all this way. Center lashes downwards, inner lashes inwards, outer lashes outwards. Now the eyes are completely done. For my lips, I'm going to use Cork like I usually do. Overlining on the top and bottom center and then not on the sides. Filling in the outer corners as well. One of my favorite parts of this entire look is the lipstick I'm going to use. I'm using Revlon Caramel Glacé. It is so beautiful. It is a frost finish lipstick. The tones of this makeup are so perfect for this lipstick. Now we're completely done with the makeup look. Hope you guys enjoyed it and try out this look, especially with this lipstick. I just love that so much. Love and appreciate you so much if you watched all the way to the end, and I just want to thank you for watching the video. Let me know what kind of makeup looks you want to see from me next. I'll see you in my next video. Bye!